I love it. That's what we should all be saying in every meeting. Excuse me.
Just gonna chime in here as a creator of Life Force.
I love it. I love that. I actually think that's a huge, powerful message reminding women. Let's get started because I want to introduce you because you, Germany, Lancaster, are a multi-passion success. You're an art director who has worked at some of the most renowned agencies in the world, Droga, Wyden and Kennedy, now at BBDO. You're also a model, DJ, entrepreneur, and founder of Black Girl Beach Day. The list goes on. Did I miss anything? Thank you for being my first guest.
You did miss something.
Oh my God, what did I miss?
Cat mom from a bad kitty.
Oh my God, Kitty. Oh my God, I'm such a cat mom. So this could easily turn into a different channel of just talking about cats, which low key I want to do. But I think a lot of cat moms would be into it. But we will jump into your background because I want to know, where'd you grow up and kind of when and how you discovered your creative passions? Like, were you a creative kid or did your creative passions come later in life?
Was I a creative kid? I don't know. I was a lively kid. I think a little bit creative. I wasn't, when you say creative kid, I picture in my mind like that eccentric, creative freaking wonder child. I wasn't that, but
Yeah.
I was a little bit creative. I was more so just into a lot of things. I think just tried a lot of things. So yeah, I was more of I loved different hobbies. I love to do different things. I love to try different things. I wasn't necessarily like making art or anything. I was, I did like to write.
Oh,
So that
yeah.
was the thing. Like, I used to write a lot of poetry, and I wrote a screenplay.
How old were you when you wrote that?
Well, it's interesting because I entered high school at a young age because I was skipped. So I remember doing it in 10th grade, which means I was about 13 because I entered high school at 12.
Wait, yeah, you were saying because you were skipped, like you skipped grades?
Yeah. So funny story.
Oh,
So I planned a class trip. I like made flyers and I think I don't know if I organized travel or I planned to organize travel, but I planned a class trip, like a school trip, and I gave flyers to everyone. And then parents started calling in and asking about it. Like, hey, what's the info? Like, what's going on here? And the school's like, we don't know anything about this.
oh my God, that's so funny.
So I definitely got in trouble, but the principal was like that. It was very, um, I guess, advanced for me to do something like that, like to plan a whole like trip for the whole school, and invent a club and all this shit that I did. So instead of suspending me, she promoted me early.
Yes, that's great. I love that.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. And that's how I ended up in high school at 12.
That's insane. First of
It's
all,
good.
that should be on your resume.
I never really talk about it. I don't know why.
I love that. And what's incredible is you are an incredible event planner. And to think that that was your first event that you planned when you were 12, I mean,
Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
it was in the stars.
It's always it was in the making for a very long time. I think that's super interesting. So how did you know like a creative career was lucrative and could be a career? I feel like
I did not know that. I did not know that. So I started off in music. I have a degree in audio engineering. And I started off there trying to make my way, like doing engineering, music production, and all that stuff. And that is a hard field to get into. It's not hard to get into, but it's hard to make fruitful. It's hard to make money from it at first. You need a lot of help, like a lot of support financially in order for you to put in work to get to a place where you need to be. And I didn't have that. So during school, it just so happened that I had taught myself different programs, production programs, and like editing, visually editing, those types of programs. They have a lot in common. So I was self-taught as a designer. I was self-taught, so I use the quotes, but
Right.
I was self-taught as a designer, and I kept getting more visual jobs than music jobs. So, and then I
Because
was
you're a good
also,
designer.
you know, I was also I was also DJing at the time. I just wanted to be in music. So I was whatever I could do, I was doing. I was interning, I was DJing. And then my friends would ask me to do certain creative projects that involve visuals, and I would do those. And I got more jobs doing that. And then I went to the shift program, which you are very familiar with. And
Yes.
shift program is how I found out that I can make a living off of being a creative. It's very interesting because a lot of people still don't know this, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I wish more people knew that that unique thing about you, that quirky thing about you, is something that you can make a living from. So I was always just into creative things and always had different ideas. Oh, that would be cool if this, and this would be cool if that. So
Mhm.
going to the shift program and being exposed to different agencies and how the creative process of making campaigns come to life and the creative thought behind them, those were the things that showed me, okay, I can do this. I can make something of this. And then being scouted by Wyden and Kennedy was really it was weird because I had no clue what Wyden and Kennedy was.
That probably helped you, like
Maybe so.
secretively, do you think?
Maybe. Wyden and Kennedy, they produce great work. Everyone that works there is super talented, but they do have a reputation. They are like the clout agency. Like,
They're the best agency in the world. I mean,
I
they
know.
are.
Yeah, but they're not only are they the best with the work that they produce, but they also are cool. Like it's really
That
cool to work for them, you know?
well,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, so like
I think you wonder, like, oh, Wyden and Kennedy, is it like a sweatshop? Is it, like, or everyone's
well,
cool or every
every agency is a sweatshop.
yeah.
Every agency is a sweatshop. Let's just
Yeah, I want to hear more about the experience, your first experience. You were an intern at Wyden?
yeah. So I've had my fair share of internships. I've worked music internships, you know, creative internships. That was the most intense one. I think that doing the shift program before Wyden, it helped, I don't know, it helped to shape my thoughts around the industry a bit.
Mhm.
I mean, the industry is this whole, it has a personality. Like it's, we look at the whole Mad Men thing and it's developed since those practices and it has a whole personality. There's kind of like agency etiquette, there's ways of doing things, there's processes that are unique to the industry. So the shift program helped me to understand a bit more. But working at Wyden really threw me into the fire and like helped me to get it. Like it showed me what I didn't know. It showed me like how to structure my ideas, how to think bigger, how to pitch to clients, how to even behave in a conference room when like one of the biggest clients, you have to present to one of the biggest clients of the agency.
And how do you behave? Like, what are the tips? What are for a big agency pitch?
So when I was in that position, I thought I had to be super proper and I had to be just very prim and, you know, just like,
Yeah, like buttoned up and like this is
yeah, like so buttoned up and speak when it's your turn. And you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you're a human being. And what I've learned this far in my journey is you have to bring your unique humanness to the room. Otherwise, you're in a prison. Like you're
Yeah.
you're in this kind of like professional social prison if you're not being yourself. And I'm a Sagittarius. I
Same
cannot
girl.
I can't stand the boundary. I
Yeah, I
can't
hear
take
it.
it.
I
I
hear
can't
it.
take it. So I've learned that the way that I interpreted before was to kind of abandon myself and be, for the business and, be what I would perceive as professional. Even in such a fun place like Wyden and Kennedy, it can be intimidating because the clients you work with are so huge. So now, fast forward, I've been in a lot of meetings. I've talked to a lot of like ECDs, CDs. I've just had so much more experience in the social professional realm, like
Mm-hmm.
that interpersonal experience. I've had much more of that, and I understand now to be myself.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, when you are yourself, it helps the work because you can relay the ideas better. When you're trying to relay a concept to someone, but you're pretending to be someone else while you're doing it, it's not helpful. And it's not really helping to get your point across. So,
100%.
yeah, that's definitely something I've learned. It's very tough because, as a person of color, you always have that code switch thing that, you're inclined to do. But fuck that. Right? They obviously want you here for a reason. I mean, code switching is I can't say it's not necessary because it's a thing for a reason. But I will say that there more often than not, it's better that you are yourself. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that being yourself helps, the professional environment around you to acclimate to different personalities that have different experiences.
Absolutely. And I feel like one of my favorite things about advertising in the industry is that like they actually want you to be yourself. You don't have to be this cookie cutter person. Like they want you to interrupt. They want you to maybe not interrupt, but they want you to have the ideas and come as yourself. And I feel like so much of it is confidence too. You can come in as a junior and like if you're confident about ideas and just having an opinion. I think having a strong opinion is really key on entering the advertising agency because everyone has opinions and creative. And it's like, as long as you have your voice and your opinion and you're comfortable with that and you can speak that, that'll get you far. Like that'll get you noticed at least. And like, I'm curious, like to hear more about, your experience as a woman in advertising, as a woman of color in advertising, through different agencies.
Being a woman of color in advertising, I think there's more social turbulence than professional turbulence. It's like, I don't know, women by nature, women have intuition and we just pick up on things and that thing never turns off. So you can understand when, you know, maybe people on your team are not as used to being around someone like you.
Mm-hmm.
You pick up on those things and you might get that feeling of otherness or that you're the most different person in the room. There's a diverse range of people there, but you probably might relate to people the least because your background is so different. The thing that makes you special is also the thing that makes you feel a little bit alienated and, less able to connect with your peers or your colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like give and take. But I think that professionally, your perspective is very rich and it's helpful, to you when it comes to concepting and delivering ideas and putting your perspective on something, that needs a fresh look. Like socially, it's tougher to be someone from a marginalized background, like a woman, or being differently abled, or being a person of color. Like socially, it's a little bit tougher, but professionally, I think it helps, especially when it comes to being a creative.
Mm-hmm.
I think more than ever, it's easier to get marginalized people in these rooms because of that realization that these perspectives are something the industry needs more of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an aid to you. It is a catalyst for you to, get better projects or get in the room or have your, to voice, I don't know, to get your opinion heard more. I think it's give and take. It's hard to say universally that that's the case, but in my experience, I do feel like I have that advantage because of my marginalization. Now, we obviously have there's sexism, there's racism, there's all those things that can subtly come into play too. But I can't totally say this is my championed strength in every single area or whatever. Like I can't say that. I know it is an advantage, but I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really interesting because it's hard to say that it's a total advantage, though it does help me to get ahead. It also plays a part in what the things that I struggle with too.
It's complicated.
It's very complicated.
It's complicated. But I love that you're talking about women intuition and in creativity, because I think as I get older, I'm realizing, certain things that just come to me like inspiration or whatever, it's just a woman's intuition. You can't really describe it. And I kind of always thought that like, oh, everybody thinks this way. Everybody feels this way.
I used to be like that too.
Yeah. Everybody gets these insights. And then you get older and you're like, oh shit, I'm different out here. And it is being a woman. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, yeah, you're different out here in these streets, and your differences, they are a catalyst for certain things professionally. But I can't ignore the fact that like there might be times where those specific things that make you a marginalized person also make you feel not so great in the
hinder you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is complicated. And is there something you wish you knew before you entered advertising now?
I wish I knew earlier that it would be harder for me to get the type of mentorship that I need. I think, one, obviously there's not a lot of women, that are ECDs, CDs, CCOs, whatever. So, and then of those women that may have those roles, not a lot of them are. My cat is bugging. Not a lot of them. Not a lot of them are women of color. So it's just tough when it comes to the whole mentorship thing. It's tough. One, because I'm self-taught. So I don't have that agency background, and I still feel it. Like even though I've been to all these different places, I still feel that void of like, I really wish I had that ad school portfolio kind of background, and I don't have that. So sometimes I feel that. But I don't know, like,
can I ask what makes you feel like you wish you went to ad school? Like, is it the amount of work people have in their portfolio, or is it the lingo, or is it like, what is it that ad school?
The lingo is something you pick up along the way. The lingo is definitely something you pick up along the way. Just a sidebar, I would say, if it's something that you don't understand, just ask. Just ask. Because for, it's kind of silly for people to just expect you to know.
Yeah.
API and RTD.
Tissue session. I was like, what the hell?
Like, what? So war room, like it's just silly for people to just think that you would know those things. So that's a sidebar. Always ask questions. But now back to your original question.
Was there something you wish you knew before you entered the industry? And then you were talking about ad school, like you kind of wish,
what makes me wish? Well, I think craft is a big thing because since I'm self-taught, it's always very scrappy. I get the ideas across, but it can be very scrappy. So I guess wanting to be more polished and stuff like that. Um, Portfolio is not the biggest deal because I think a lot of people like my book regardless.
Yeah, you have a great book. You have a great website. Check it out if you haven't.
Thank you. But yes, so but I think it's the rapid fire speed at which people can respond to a brief. Whereas me, I need to let it sink in. And time is not necessarily something you always have when you're concepting for an agency. And I feel like it's something, I think that's the thing right there. It's like I feel like I need more time to really dig into a brief and to really pull something out. Whereas people who have that background of ad school, it just seems like of the people I work with, it just seems like they can just fire them off way faster and come up with all these different angles. So I don't, I rise to the challenge, but I don't have that luxury of time to do so. And that's what hinders me.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying because it is the people who have ad school, they are doing, I think, like a brief a week and they just have a lot of practice. And I think the one thing about DNAD the shift program that I think they could expand a bit on is like the actual concepting and like breaking down a brief and maybe more. Because we both went through the program and you have 3 briefs and people who come from ad school are doing like 25. So I think it's probably just that, yeah, the amount of experience of getting faster. And that's just like the more you do, the faster you'll get. But you've had a lot of success in advertising and you've moved around a lot and you recently have gotten a raise, a promotion. I saw that on your Instagram, so I know that it's not private knowledge.
So that's a good thing to talk about. That's a good point to touch on because I had no clue that I could make that much money until I spoke with someone who worked at the agency that was interviewing me. It just so happens that I was able to do a panel with someone and then I connected with them later. And then after that, their agency reached out to me. So I was like, hey,
oh, awesome.
I don't really know. That's what it goes back to ask questions. Cause hadn't I asked her, like, what's this agency about? What salary should I be asking for? Like, what would be expected of me if I took the job? That's when I got those answers. And that's when I understood, okay, I am supposed to be making way more. I'm capable of doing way more. So it really helped me to negotiate. And of course, negotiating within reason, like I'm selling myself on things that I can actually deliver.
Mm-hmm.
But the missing piece is what I understood what I could deliver was worth. So yeah, having those conversations really helped me to understand, like, okay, this skill set is worth this much,
Yes. I also think advertising in interviews is like a whole different beast in itself. It's a whole other topic.
Like dating. That's what I've relegated it to. It's just like dating.
It is. It's really selling yourself. That 1-minute pitch, you've got to get it down. You're like, this is who I am. This is what I can do. And it's like the confident. Yeah. It's and actually, oh my God, 1 second.
We got a timer on.
Yeah, I got to pay for Zoom right now. Of like, how do you handle critical feedback from creative directors, other people?
I'm laughing because this is my struggle. I don't respond very maturely.
Oh, really?
In my mind, I'm just like, you don't know what you're talking about. I know. I'm the demographic anyway. So what are you even talking about? But in reality, you can't say that. You have to be like, you have to take it. I think critical feedback calls for questioning. You have to ask questions. Why won't this work? Why doesn't this work? What about if we did this? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, while the CDs may not be the demographic that the brand you're working on is trying to target, and you might be closer to that demographic, they are CDs for a reason. You have to acknowledge that. When it comes to critical feedback, if it's coming from someone higher up than you, I think you definitely have to have that level of respect, as far as their opinions or how they think you should pivot. And just have more of a co-creative attitude. Because I can be bullish in my ideas. Oh, it's upgraded. Cool.
I did it.
I can be really bullish in my ideas. And I can just see a vision, and I'm just so stuck on the vision, Like I can see it coming to life. And then when you present it and you get this critical feedback and they're like, well, I don't think so. It can hurt because it's your brain baby, like it's your creativity that is being criticized. So I think just have a collaborative attitude. Like try to meet whoever is criticizing you halfway. Try to bring something from from a place that you're passionate about, and also incorporating the feedback, that their professional feedback, their seasoned professional feedback as well.
Yes.
Because that's the thing. It's like the young generation, we're always like, I know this. What are you talking about? Like, I'm smarter than you because I'm younger and I know what's hip and cool. You know what I'm saying? We always think like that. But in reality, you are not a CD and you have not done like 30 different productions.
Yeah.
So you got to simmer down. It's like, you got to check yourself. So I don't know. I think having a collaborative attitude with like the feedback that you get, trying to be a co-creator with your CDs to make something that is a happy medium between both of you is the right way to approach it. Take it from someone who has not had that approach in the past and who's kind of been like, I don't like what you're saying. And I think you're wrong. Not saying this out loud, but just feeling this in the midst of creative reviews. Like, I just, it gets you nowhere to have that mentality.
Yeah, I think it's a skill too. I mean, I think it's great advice to say, remember that they're seasoned professionals and that they got there for a reason. But I want to push back a little bit, because just because they're seasoned doesn't mean they're always right. And maybe they're stuck in their own ways. I think it's a huge skill to fight for your ideas in a way where you're not being insulting, and just, I think that's a very fine line. It's hard to do, but
it's very hard to do. It's very hard to do.
But I'm like learning now as I like see other creatives and see how they work too. I'm like, wow, really half of the job is selling it, because it's really, you could sell crap. And we look at the turn on the TV. It's not, you can sell crap, and it's a real skill. So it's like, but so if you really believe in an idea, I think it can be, you have to like fight for it a little bit in a way.
Yeah. But you catch more what flies with honey is the saying.
Yes.
So selling it is really important, but being enthusiastic about the ways that it can flex into what the client might want or what the CDs might want. You have to take those things into consideration. But yeah.
It's got to be on brief too.
You also have to have that attitude about it. Like, this is great. I think this is great. And I think that we can flex it a little bit to make it what the client wants. We can flex it a little bit to make it what the city wants. You just have to have that flexibility. Keep it in mind. But what you're saying about selling it, that's why I'm saying that. Because I've seen ideas that are not great, but certain people love them and they're so enthusiastic about them.
Oh, enthusiastic.
They move forward. So I think, that's a really, really important piece of advice, is like, be enthusiastic, kind of like keep talking, make it a conversation. Don't be rigid,
Yeah. And that's a skill too. You like, if you're starting a, a creative review and you're like, so yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this. Like they're all gonna be like, yeah, I don't, it's next. You have to be like, this is the idea. This is what we're thinking.
I'm making that face because I deal with that so much. Where people get in there and they're not confident about their ideas and then they down talk it before they say it. And it's like, bro.
Yeah, it's like if you don't like it, how is anyone else gonna like it? You gotta sell it. You have to love it for someone else to love it. And yeah, I like try to just be a different person really when I'm in creative reviews. This is what it is.
Just switch. If you have imposter syndrome, just be an imposter.
Wait, I need you to repeat that again.
It's true. That's
great advice.
If you have imposter syndrome, just embrace it and be an imposter. Wear a little disguise. You are a whole different person. Be who you need to be in that moment for that moment. Because, well, one, this is a team effort. It's always a team effort. It's always collaborative. So if you have somebody on your team that's like, oh, well, I mean, this idea sucks, but it's like, no, you're doing all of us a disservice. Just be enthusiastic about what comes from your brain. You're obviously here for a reason. Your ideas don't suck. Nobody's ideas suck. So you might as well just be confident about it. If you don't like it, or if you feel like it could be better, you can say that in a way that helps you, not hurts you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way to go about that,
Absolutely. I think talking about imposter syndrome is such a huge topic too, because self-doubt, women and creativity, I feel like there's so much imposter syndrome. Even me starting this, I'm like, but
it's ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing. You have a portal as a woman, most women or a number of women, because I know everybody, there's science behind it and all that stuff. So I don't want to get into it, but generally, you have a portal to another dimension in your stomach. You are a master creator.
Ooh, I love it.
There's nothing anyone can tell you about creativity. You literally bring life to the planet. So for you to have any self-doubt when it comes to creativity, what? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And I think that there's a lot invested in people telling you you're not good enough, you're not creative enough, you're not this, you're not that, you need to be more of this, you need to be more of that. You are, you're the epitome of creativity.
I love it. That's what we should all be saying in every meeting. Excuse me.
Excuse me. I have a portal to another dimension in my stomach. So I'm just gonna chime in here as a creator of life force.
I love it. I'm fucking here for it. I love that. I actually think that's a huge, powerful message for reminding women. Like,
it's just certain things to me, I don't know. I guess this is why I'm so pessimistic and cynical, because it's like certain things to me just make sense, and to everyone else is profound. But I feel like as a woman, we do everything. We create life. We take care of life. Your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for you to come up with an idea for a brand that wants to like reach a consumer, small potatoes, like, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. Did you deal with self-doubt, like maybe when you were younger, or have you always had this attitude?
I dealt with it. Self-doubt is permeated through the life of any person subject to capitalism. But I'll talk about it in the context of the ad industry. When you get into the ad industry, especially a person like me who had no background, no portfolio, no experience, no exposure, you feel like you're crazy. You feel like you think things in a common sense way, but everyone else has these roundabout ways of doing things that don't make sense to you. Why do we have to have a million checks and balances for something that obviously checks and balances strip away the richness of the idea? So you probably feel like, well, why are we doing this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. We want something that's rich and powerful that's going to impact the world, but we want a million people to agree with it. It just doesn't make sense. So it's like when you get into this industry, certain things that are done, they don't add up to you. And it makes you feel crazy. Like, isn't this obvious that we would do this way? Right. So the self-doubt comes in. The self-doubt comes in because you gaslight yourself.
Yeah.
You really just like
100%.
gaslight yourself. And it's something that you have to unlearn, because the more you get to know these like figureheads in the industry, and the more you get to know the processes of the industry, the more you understand, okay, I'm crazy. This is just a little out of whack. This is just a little different that I'm used to, but I'm not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of reaffirm yourself. I think that's where the kind of like confidence and affirmation and delusion has to come in, you know? So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a very tough thing to do. I think, I don't know. I mean, I feel like as a woman in general, you just constantly have to affirm your reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if you feel like there's a better way of doing things, it just because someone else says there's not doesn't mean you're wrong.
100%. Yeah. My new motto is like, you have to be your own biggest fan, and like you got to be your own cheerleader, and you got to hype yourself up, and you got to believe in you, and you got to do it. You got to do it for you, and like fuck everyone else.
No, I stand by that. I think when it comes to being a part of this kind of industry and system, if you want to see those changes, like if you feel like you have great ideas as far as better ways to do things, then I think be vocal about it in a way that people can embrace. This industry is ancient. They're used to doing things a certain way. So while we might be younger, introduced to it, and at a time where we feel like we know what's best, and we know what things to implement to make it better. You also got to realize, like, if somebody's been doing something for decades, it's not like you're just going to come in and be like, well, this is what I think, and this is what it is. Like, right. You can affirm your reality for yourself. But when it comes to implementing or introducing others to that reality, you got to be gentle. You know, you got to be So, because I say that because I do believe that this industry is changing, and there are great people, young people with great ideas. I think we could be so passionate about it that we push it so hard that it's hard to get it. It's hard to make it happen.
100%. I think, hearing you talk and then thinking about relationships too. I mean, everything in life is communication. It's like how you communicate. You can either turn someone off or completely get a hell yes, like I'm down. Yeah. And it's really, that skill of communication. I'm going to say, what do you think it takes to be a successful creative? I think learning to communicate is one aspect. Do you have any other thoughts on what it takes to be a successful creative, to be from a non-traditional background?
I think you have to be a little bit insane.
You do.
I think you have to be a little bit insane, because you have to be bullish in your advocacy for yourself, but you also have to be gentle in dealing with people more powerful than you. So, like, for example, I have to advocate for myself when it comes to my needs in order to deliver what the company wants me to deliver. I need more one-on-ones with certain people. I need more insight on briefs. It's certain things that I have to be bullish about, because one, everyone's busy. No one's just sitting there waiting to cater to your needs, right? So you definitely have to have that bullish quality of like, I need you to do this so I can get this done. No one's going to just spoon feed you everything you need in order to be the greatest creative, So you definitely have to have that thing in you that forces you to advocate for yourself. But you also have to realize that there is a certain air of confidence and stoicism that comes with a person who's been in the industry for 30 years. So when you're dealing with these people who you want to advocate for you and promote you, you have to have that humility too, And I think trying to bridge those things is a level of psychopathy that you need. Like that is it's it's really complex.
Yeah.
You know, it's a complex way that you have to be. And that's tough. And that's a little bit stressful.
It's so stressful because it kind of isn't a skill like that someone can teach you. It's
Right.
experience and dealing with people and being able, but as a woman, being able to like read people's energy and like understand like if the conversation isn't going very like how to steer it in another direction. And yeah.
It's that like intuition, social skills, you know, all of those things kind of meshed into one. So you got to be a little crazy. And then, you know, coming from my background, there might be things that you lack because you don't have the same experience as everyone else. You have to make up for that in some way. You're going to have to compensate for that in some way, be it your personality, your perspective, your whatever it is. If you know that the people around you all have this thing that you weren't fortunate enough to be able to develop yet, you have to have, you know, a push or emphasize some other skill that you have somewhere else. So
and
it's like
passion. Like you have to have passion because people respond to passion. I think that's a major thing people respond to.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, that I think we'll just cut the chapter.
I'm gonna, I'm appreciative of you. Thank you for your time. I literally actually have like more questions to ask you, but we'll, maybe on round 2, maybe on season 2. This is season 1, first guest, Germany Lancaster. You're incredibly inspiring to women of color, to reminding women to take up space and show up. And I want to thank you for everything.
You're so sweet.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me. This was really fun. I want to do season 2. I want to do a part 2.